released a rather very interesting insight report that tells you exactly how much the Indiana Fever's social media engagements are actually monetarily worth, either on X or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever. I mean, all these posts have a monetary value to them based on engagement.
The Indiana Fever's social media just got hit with a wild $55 million valuation. And get this, it's not even close to whoever's in second place. Forbes dropped this bombshell report, and now people are scrambling to explain it away because these numbers don't make sense to anyone trying to argue against it. While the debates keep going about who really runs the WNBA spotlight, the data came crashing in and settled it in the most brutal way possible. This Forbes report didn't just shake things up, it straight up shattered every old school argument fans have been holding on to for months. The Indiana Fever's social media value hit an insane $55.4 million. Yeah, that's real, not a typo, and definitely not exaggerated. That's the kind of impact you get when a player completely changes the game and moves the league's popularity like never before. Now, before anyone jumps in talking about respecting all players equally, let's keep it real. We're talking numbers, not opinions. This isn't some bias-filled rant or clickbait drama. This is a verified study with hard data behind it. It was done by STN Digital and Zoom Analytics, and these folks didn't play around. They tracked over 20,000 pieces of content across Instagram, X, Facebook, and YouTube for the entire season. They analyzed everything: impressions, engagements, and even the kind of money advertisers would have to drop to get that same level of exposure. And the result? The Fever came out on top by a gap so huge, it's almost embarrassing for the rest of the league. This isn't just a win. It's a total takeover that proves the Indiana Fever are operating on a whole different level. Second place went to the Dallas Wings, pulling in about $8.61 million, and honestly, let that sink in for a second.
All right, Caitlin Clark fan, if you're an Indiana Fever fan, this is something you already know. However, for the haters out there, the old WNBA fandom, many of you call them the slows, for those fans, they're in complete denial. We've tried to tell people Caitlin Clark moves the needle unlike anybody else in this league or everybody else in this league. It just sort of is what it is. Fans are coming to see one particular player, and along with that, carries over the support.
The gap between first and second place isn't just big, it's a massive $46 million difference. That's not a competition, that's a whole different league. It's like the Fever are playing an entirely different sport. They're not just ahead, they're miles beyond everyone else, operating on numbers that no other team can even get close to. And to be fair, the Wings didn't exactly flop. They had a crazy good year. Their engagement jumped 505% and their social value tripled. But even with all that growth, that massive gap makes it look like they got completely blown out of the water. Then in third place, we've got the Las Vegas Aces with $7.64 million, which makes total sense. They're the dynasty team. Multiple titles, big personalities, non-stop winning energy. It all adds up. Sitting right behind them is the New York Liberty at $7.5 million, which checks out too since they're sitting in one of the biggest media markets in the entire country. But here's where things get spicy. Fifth place went to the Chicago Sky at $6.35 million. And that's where all those who's really bringing the spotlight to the league debates just got shut down. Remember all those heated talks about which rookie was truly changing the game and who had the real cultural pull? Well, the numbers just came through with the final word, and it's not even close. The Sky landing fifth, even with a player hyped to be just as impactful, says everything you need to know. All season long, the story was that two players were carrying the WNBA's growth, bringing in new fans and boosting the league's spotlight. But now the data's out, and it completely flips that story upside down. The social media value shows a $48.69 million gap between the Fever and the Sky. Yeah, almost $50 million. That's not a small edge or some margin of error situation. That's a totally different universe of impact and engagement. And here's the wild part. The Fever didn't slow down even after the season ended. They kept dropping Caitlin Clark content non-stop. They stayed in fans' feeds, kept the energy alive, and made sure the hype never cooled off. That's not luck, that's strategy. When you've got someone pulling that much attention, you don't ease up, You hit the gas harder. You keep serving the audience exactly what they crave and ride that momentum all the way. The study looked at posts made between May 16th and September 11th, right through the season, and the Fever absolutely dominated.
They are worth a lot of money, and I can tell you right now, that's a little over 5 times higher than the next WNBA team. 5 times higher. Let's go down here. Just scroll down. The Indiana Fever's staggering $55 million social media evaluation speaks.
We're talking 38.73 million engagements and 1.117 billion impressions. Yes, billion with a capital B. To really put that in perspective, that's more impressions than many major professional sports teams rack up across an entire year on all their platforms combined. And this is the WNBA, a league that's been fighting for mainstream recognition for years. The Fever's online numbers didn't just break the mold, they completely redefined what's possible for women's basketball. Now this is wild. One of the craziest stats from the whole report is that the Fever had a single YouTube video valued at over $750,000 in ad worth. Yeah, you heard that right. One video, not a whole campaign, not a series. Just one clip that pulled $750,000 in equivalent advertising value. That's the kind of number that makes marketing execs lose their minds because it proves just how fired up and loyal that fan base really is. You don't pull those numbers unless people are truly tuned in, watching, sharing, commenting, and coming back for more again and again. It's insane to think about. One Fever video being worth more than the entire season's social media value of some WNBA teams. Imagine that. One post outperforming everything another franchise put out for months. That's not just success. That's total domination that's forcing the whole league to rethink how they approach online engagement. And this isn't random hype. There's science behind it. The methodology they used is called the social value metric, and it basically measures what advertisers would have to pay to reach that same level of exposure through paid ads. So when we say the Fever's social media is worth $55 million, it's not an estimate. It's what companies would literally have to spend to buy that kind of reach. The craziest part? The Fever didn't have to pay for any of it. They're pulling all that value organically, just by dropping content that their fans genuinely want to see and interact with.
The WNBA across social media, social agency STN Digital, and analytics and measurement platform Zoom teamed up to quantify the league's online impact with a newly released WNBA social rankings and insight report. The research analyzes how every team performed across social media during the 2025 season and identifies which clubs and content pieces generated the most engagement, impressions, and...
It's proof that when your audience is locked in and your strategy's on point, the impact hits a whole new level. This report completely blows up the idea that the WNBA's growth is being evenly shared or that a bunch of players are equally driving this surge in popularity. If that were really the case, we'd be seeing numbers that sit a lot closer together across the top teams. But that's not what's happening. Instead, there's one team standing 5 times higher than second place. That's not balance. That's one superstar pulling an entire franchise into the spotlight and dragging the whole league with her. Like it or not, that's exactly what's going down. Sure, the Dallas Wings had a monster year worth talking about. Engagement spiked like crazy, up more than 5 times from before. A lot of that comes from Sophie Cunningham's social media game. She knows how to work a platform. Her personality pops. She's one of the most searched players in the league, and she's bagged deals with big brands like Arby's thanks to her smart marketing and connection with fans. But even with all that energy, the Wings are still nowhere near touching the Fever's numbers. That gap alone shows just how massive Caitlin Clark's influence really is. Her impact isn't just big, it's redefining what success looks like for the entire league. And here's the twist that caught everyone off guard. The Chicago Sky landing in 5th place. That might be the most shocking part of the whole report. All season long, the media kept comparing 2 players, painting them as equally game-changing for the WNBA. But the numbers tell a different story. A gap of nearly $49 million separates them. That's not just a difference. It's a wake-up call that one player's reach is in a league of its own. This isn't even a close contest. One player is generating engagement and value on a level that nobody else in the entire WNBA can touch. Some folks are trying to argue that the Fever just had a stronger social media strategy or a top-tier content team, and sure, there's probably some truth in that. STN Digital did team up with the Fever on campaigns and strategy, and that definitely helped boost their overall reach and polish. But here's the real truth. You can have the best digital team on the planet, but if your players don't capture people's attention, those posts won't hit. The reason the Fever's numbers are sky high is simple. Fans want Caitlin Clark content. They crave the updates, the highlight reels, the behind-the-scenes clips, anything that lets them stay connected to her energy. The demand is driving the content, not the other way around. And this is where things get real. The report exposes something the WNBA's been hesitant to face. Star power actually matters. For years, the league has been pushing this everyone's equally important message. And while it sounds good on paper, that's not how sports fandom really works. Fans connect with stars. They buy jerseys, follow their favorite players online, and tune in to watch specific matchups because of who's on the court. The sooner the WNBA leans into that reality and starts building its marketing around its biggest names, the faster the league's momentum will explode. The Fever's insane social media value isn't just a number. It's proof of what happens when star power meets smart marketing. And let's not forget, those numbers aren't just for bragging rights. That kind of value is pure gold when it comes to pulling in major sponsors and locking down serious brand partnerships. When a team can walk into a meeting and show sponsors that their content pulled in over 1 billion impressions and nearly 40 million engagements, that's serious power. That kind of reach gives the Indiana Fever major leverage in every conversation. They've proven they can deliver an audience that's not just watching, but locked in. Brands dream about that level of engagement, and the Fever are showing they can do it at a scale no other WNBA team even comes close to. That kind of impact translates straight into money through sponsorships, ad deals, and brand partnerships that actually pay out. But here's where it gets even deeper. Think about what this means for the Fever's future. When one player is driving that much value online, you protect that investment at all costs. You make sure she's got everything she needs: support, structure, top-tier resources, because losing a player like that wouldn't just hurt your game plan, it'd crush your bottom line. The Fever aren't just thinking about wins and losses anymore, they're thinking about engagement, impressions, and long-term brand growth. Now, look at the Las Vegas Aces, who finished third despite being the defending champs and loaded with all-stars. That right there proves something major. Winning titles doesn't automatically equal social media dominance. The Aces kill it on the court, no doubt, but they don't pull in the same level of emotional connection or viral energy as teams with players who have that it factor. That's the real lesson here. Championship banners look amazing hanging from the rafters, but if fans aren't emotionally invested in your players, that success doesn't translate online. In today's game, it's not just about trophies. It's about attention, connection, and who can truly move the culture. It's honestly wild that the New York Liberty landed in 4th place. You'd think being in the biggest media market in the entire country would give them a huge edge when it comes to social media growth and engagement, but clearly, that's not how it works. Location alone doesn't guarantee attention. It only matters if the team's got players and content that people are genuinely drawn to. The Liberty are solid, competitive, well-run, and stacked with talent, but they just don't have anyone pulling Caitlin Clark-level interest. And that right there puts a ceiling on their social media reach, no matter how big their city is. What this report really proves is something the WNBA hasn't wanted to say out loud. The league's growth isn't being shared equally. There's one clear force driving the surge in attention, and the numbers make that impossible to ignore. The Fever's social media value is 5 times higher than the second-place team. Their content racks up billions of impressions, and single videos are pulling hundreds of thousands of dollars in value each. Those aren't the stats of a league where every team's growing together. Those are the stats of one franchise and one superstar completely changing the game. For fans who've been saying this all season, this report is straight-up vindication. And for those who kept insisting that multiple players were equally fueling the WNBA's rise, well, the numbers just delivered a harsh reality check. And for the league itself, this should be a massive wake-up call. It's clear where the real attention and value are coming from. You can keep pushing the everyone matters equally message if you want, but the data is screaming a totally different story. The Fever's domination online is now creating serious pressure for other teams to figure it out, to rethink their strategies, boost engagement, and find new ways to get their fan bases fired up. The question now is, who's gonna rise to that challenge next? If one team is pulling in $55 million in social media value while everyone else is stuck in single digits, that's not just impressive. It's a flashing neon sign showing a massive opportunity the rest of the league is missing. Other franchises need to start paying attention to what the Indiana Fever are doing, and more importantly, why it's working. They've cracked the code on fan connection, and unless other teams step up and create content that truly resonates, that gap is only going to get wider. This report isn't just about social media bragging rights. It's solid evidence for anyone arguing that certain players deserve bigger paychecks and better treatment from the league. When you can literally measure how much financial value one player brings to both their team and the WNBA through their digital reach, it's hard to justify paying them the same as someone who barely moves the needle. Right now, the WNBA's salary structure doesn't reflect individual star power or marketing impact the way other major leagues do, but these numbers make it crystal clear that maybe it's time to rethink that. The estimated media value model used in this study is exactly how big brands and corporations calculate social ROI. They look at impressions, engagements, and the ad dollars that kind of exposure would normally cost. And here's the wildest part. The Fever are generating that $55 million in equivalent ad value completely organically. No massive ad buys, no paid promo blitz, just smart, authentic content that fans actually want to interact with. From a business perspective, that's next-level genius. It's basically free marketing that would cost tens of millions to recreate through traditional channels. At this point, the numbers speak for themselves, and there's no arguing them. Caitlin Clark isn't just moving the needle for the Indiana Fever, she's rewriting the entire playbook for what player impact looks like in women's sports. She's not just in another league, she's in another universe when it comes to social media power, engagement, and influence. If you're loving this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Tell us what you think. Are we witnessing a one-player revolution, or is this just the beginning of a whole new era for the WNBA?